What you are about to watch is not a demo with sample data. This is a real problem on a real project, and I am going to show you exactly how I worked through it with X3MATOR. Quick background. I am serving as an executive project manager on a public training facility here in South Louisiana. The project is underway, and we are nearly done buying out subcontractors and vendors. During the buyout, we made an ugly discovery. Our cost for the steel structure has jumped roughly 13.5% since public bidding was held. And it's not all about price. Steel suppliers are getting buried in demand from data center construction. Lead times are stretching and availability is tight. That supply and demand squeeze is hitting our local market hard, and it pushed the current metal structure design out of feasibility for this project. So a stakeholder on the owner's side reached out with an urgent request. Use my experience and my resources to help find a path forward. His idea was to revisit an original design that had been abandoned earlier because of cost. With the market flipped upside down, that old design might now be the more feasible option. But somebody has to reestimate that structure fast in a market where getting steel pricing is already painful. Here was my plan. The team needs detailed Division 5 costs, structural steel, cold formed metal framing, the mezzanine and deck system, and miscellaneous metals, broken into categories they can actually study. Here's where X3MATOR separates itself from a generic chat box. It is engineered under the hood to work the way a professional estimator works. Review drawings, take off quantities, price it. I don't have to trick it into that discipline. It is built in. All I do is point it at the work and confirm the results it produces. Watch how this plays out. Prompt 1 attaches the construction drawings and gives X3MATOR one job. Review and analyze every Division 5 component across all structural and architectural sheets. I am asking it to identify and catalog the structural steel members, columns, beams, girders, bracing, base plates, and connections, the cold formed metal stud and joist framing, exterior walls, interior partitions, and floor joists, and all the mezzanine and second floor deck components, including the deck system, the supporting steel, and the edge connection. Notice the instruction that matters most. Do not estimate that. I wanted to note dimensions, member size, elevations, span lengths, and quantities. Then confirm when it was complete and list every component category it found. This is a 68-page bid set, and look at what starts coming back. It is walking the sheets and cataloging what is there. Wide flange beams and girders, HSS steel columns, open web steel joists, both K-series and LA series, channels, angles, and small HSS for seats, edge members, and openings. Then the full cold form package, exterior stud walls, interior partitions, braided walls, plumbing walls, shaft walls, parapet framing, plus all the track, header, seals, backing, and bridging that go with them. And the deck systems, second floor deck, roof deck, edge closures, door stops, support angles, and framed openings, stairs, handrail, and guards, base plates, anchor bolts. It even flags the existing steel at the elevator that needs field verification. Why does this matter so much? Because if the tool misreads the drawings, everything downstream is wrong. By making the review its own step, I get a checkpoint. I can scan this list against my own knowledge of the drawing set and catch a miss before it even cost me anything. That is exactly what I would demand from a human estimator before they ever touch pricing. And I demand the same thing here. One more thing worth pointing out, I told it up front to note where drawing information is incomplete. That instruction pays off later because those gaps become documented assumptions instead of silent guesses. Keep that in mind as we move to the takeoff. The review checks out, so we move to prompt 2. Now I tell X3MATOR to perform a complete quantity takeoff of everything it just cataloged, organized into 4 buckets. 1. Structural steel. 2. Cold form metal framing. 3. The mezzanine and deck system. 4. Miscellaneous metals and connection. For every component, I require the member description, the size or gauge, the quantity, the unit of measure, and the total linear feet, square feet, each unit, or tons. And here's the other key instruction. Where the drawings are incomplete or unclear, apply industry standard assumptions based on the project type and note each assumption clearly. Still no pricing, quantities only. Pricing a bad quantity just gives you a confident wrong number. So the quantities have to stand out on their own first. Watch how it organizes the work. It is not skipping around. It is building each category the way an estimator builds a takeoff sheet, component by component, with the unit of measure that a supplier or fabricator would actually quote against. That detail matters when these numbers go out for a real quotation later. Understand, the estimator is very thorough. It rarely misses anything, and it has self-check features to ensure that it gets you accurate quantities on everything you're looking for. And remember, this is steel, so it's very, very, very sensitive to an estimator getting all the right quantities of pieces. Now look at the level of detail. Roughly 67 tons of structural steel, including the joist and the connection allowance. Over 1,800 linear feet of wide flange beams and girders in the W8 through W16 series. 40 HSS columns at just under 500 linear feet. 120 open web joists. On the cold form side, nearly 2,000 metal studs covering exterior, interior, braided plumbing, shaft, and parapet framing. Over 5,000 feet of track. Thousands of feet of headers, seals, backing, and bridging. Almost 32,000 square feet of frame wall area as a reference check. The deck quantities even carry a 5% lap and waste factor built in. About 8,500 square feet of second floor deck and about 15,500 on the roof. 40 base plates, 160 anchor bolts, 3 steel stairs, and 665 feet of handrail and guardrail. And every assumption is flagged right on the line. Where the engineered joist schedule is not final, it says so. Where a deck gauge was assumed, it says so. That transparency is what makes this usable on a real project instead of a black box you cannot trust. This is a takeoff I can hand to my team and defend it line by line. Now, the payoff. Prompt 3 tells X3MATOR to take the completed takeoff and build a bottom-up cost estimate using current market pricing for our region. Every line item gets material costs, labor costs, and equipment costs where it applies, plus the extended total. The output stays in the same 4 categories, with a subtotal after each one. Then general conditions and overhead and profit get supplied at the bottom. And I asked for a final summary table showing the category subtotals and the total Division 5 number. One more critical instruction: flag any line item where pricing confidence is low because of incomplete drawing information. Because this is a public works project, the pricing runs through a public works adjustment at the line item level, a 13% reduction against the database rates. You can see the base unit rates and the adjusted unit rates side by side, so nothing is hidden inside a blended number. Material, labor, and equipment are extended separately on every single line. Take one example: wide flange beams and girders, about 33 tons, priced by the ton with separate material, labor, and equipment rates, extended out to roughly $165,000. And right next to it, a confidence note telling me the member lengths were inferred from grid spans and need CAD verification. Every line in this estimate carries that same discipline. Scroll through the structural steel category, HSS columns priced by the ton. The joist carried as an allowance pending the engineered schedule and labeled at a 5% fabrication and cutting allowance on the primary steel. Crane, lifts, and erection mobilization carried as its own lump sum instead of buried somewhere it cannot be checked. Cold form category prices. The exterior 16 gauge walls, the interior partitions, parapet framing, the reinforced jambs, headers, and seals, the backing and bridging, all the way down to the anchors and fasteners. The deck category covers both decks, quarters, edge closure, and pour stop, support angles, and the frame openings with curb supports. And the miscellaneous metals category is where the small stuff that kills budget lives. Base plates, anchor bolts, 648 connection assemblies, structural bolts, well metal, joist bridging, deck fasteners, the fabricated stairs, the handrails, lintels, roof curb frames, even the bollards. All of these things are very important, and usually a lot of it gets missed. This is not a square foot guess. This is a line by line build, the same way a steel estimator would assemble a bid, and it came together in a fraction of the time that takeoff and pricing would normally take me. So you need to understand, X3MATOR is not a typical chat box. It isn't sitting at your computer and prompting ChatGPT or Claude. It is specifically engineered with a purpose, with a goal in mind, and that is to produce a quality estimate and be your companion at assisting you at producing numbers that work as a valuable project tool. Now I picked this back up in a fresh session to pull the results together, and here's where we landed. Direct Division 5 costs come in just under $1.4 million at 10% general conditions and 15% overhead and profit, and the bid level totals around about $1.75 million, with a clean subtotal for each of the 4 categories. The team can drill into these. But the number is only half the deliverable. X3MATOR also produced a list of every questionable line item it found, and the reason behind these items being questionable. For example, George waits pending the engineer's schedule, the gauge of cold form metal awaiting a delegated design, and stairs awaiting shop drawings. Then we went a step further and ran a scope overlay, hunting for costs that may be carried twice, connections living inside erection rates, and also as separate assemblies, freight on delivered steel, plus a separate freight line, crane cost embedded in unit rates, plus a standalone crane. That reconciliation turned a conservative growth number into a defensible planning budget that the team can actually make a feasibility decision with. One thing I want to be clear about: this is a planning and budgeting tool. These numbers guide the feasibility decision. The final pricing still requires trade quotations and an experienced estimator's review before anybody releases steel or signs a contract. X3MATOR says that in its output. That's how a professional uses it. Now take a step back and look at what happened here. An urgent request from an owner, a debt design that needed fresh numbers, a steel market on fire, and in one working session, I produced a drawing review, a complete Revision 5 takeoff, a line-by-line bottom-up estimate, and a reconciled planning strategy with every assumption documented. And this workflow is repeatable on any project you have because the discipline is built into X3MATOR itself. You bring the drawings and the judgment. It brings the estimating engine. Get X3MATOR at xtramate.ai. The link is in the description. If this helped you see the possibilities with X3MATOR and you want to see more, then subscribe to this channel. I will be sharing more real work scenarios in the future. Remember, X3MATOR, built by a builder, powered by AI, engineered to win. I'll see you soon.